Sala de Notícias Entrevistas está hoje aqui em Nova York, no Bronx, na Fordham University, para conversar com o professor Lance Strate sobre mídia, infância e tecnologia. Lance Strate é nova-iorquino formado em comunicação e doutor em Media Ecology, ou Ecologia da Mídia, ciência formalmente criada na década de 60 para estudar a relação entre a mídia, o ser humano e a sociedade. Eu gostaria que o senhor definisse o seu campo de estudo, a ecologia da mídia, ou Media Ecology.
Well, the easy definition is it's the study of media as environments, or simply the study of media environments. But when we talk about media being environments, what we mean is that media, which includes technology tools, all manner of human invention and innovation, and also the symbol systems, the languages that we use, the codes, all in the form of things, that these things are not just tools that we choose to use or may choose not to use, but rather that they form an environment just as much as grass and trees and air is our environment, and that they have the same kind of influence over us as the physical, biological environment has on us.
O acadêmico Neil Postman, um dos mais reconhecidos nessa área e morto em 2003, disse num discurso que não há razão em estudar a mídia a não ser que se faça dentro do contexto da moral e da ética. O senhor concorda?
Well, I think to clarify it, and he would say that first we have to understand. And to understand means not to commit any prejudgments in a moralistic fashion. But once we have a clear understanding, we've looked at the situation, we've arrived at a clear understanding, then we need to make a decision. We need to evaluate and decide what's the best course, and that is essential.
No seu blog, o senhor mencionou certa vez que o meio de comunicação é como se fosse uma mãe. Como assim?
Well, I'm of course fooling around with McLuhan's The Medium is the Message, and there are all sorts of different ways to look at that, but there's a sense in which the medium is the environment. It's the all-encompassing thing that surrounds us, and that's the mother, in the sense that we are born, we begin life within the womb, surrounded by the mother. The mother is our medium, and we are born out of her. And in the same way, technology, symbol systems are our medium, and specific ideas, specific cultures are born out of those technologies and symbol systems. Another word for mother is matrix. And also metropolis means mother city. I mean, these are both ideas of an all-encompassing environment in which we live and out of which things emerge.
Voltando a Neil Postman, ele escreveu um livro de bastante repercussão chamado O Fim da Educação. O que ele quer dizer sobre isso?
Well, as typical for Neil and many media ecologists, there is a bit of a pun in that term because it means two things. One is that education is over, finished, kaput. The other is that the end as in purpose of education. And in effect, what he meant is that if we don't have a purpose in mind for our schools, that is, if we don't have something that we believe in, an ideal of some kind, then schooling is over. It's finished, it's kaput. There's no point to having a school system unless you have an ideal, or if you like, an ideology, a mythology that it's working within. And that's really what he meant. And in fact, he was diagnosing a problem in contemporary American culture in the United States that we no longer believe in anything. We don't have a clear system of ideals the way we once believed in democracy and equality and all of that. And that has led to our school systems becoming incoherent, basically purposeless.
Neil Postman também escreveu sobre o fim da infância e a perda da inocência. O senhor vê isso acontecendo hoje?
Of course, he didn't mean that little people were were being abducted, although that is something that sadly does occur. But what he meant was that childhood is not just a biological fact, but a cultural construction. And different cultures have different concepts of what it means to be a child, even though clearly in a kind of objective scientific manner there is a biological change that we all go through from infancy to growing up to puberty and to some sense of maturity, but that changes from culture to culture. And that once upon a time, in a way, most cultures historically have not had an extended concept of childhood. You're a child until about 7 or 8 years old, at which point you fully mastered speech. That's really the cutoff. That's why, I mean, a lot of games, if you go to buy a game in a store, they often say ages 8 and over. That's because that's the point at which you've mastered language, speaking, not writing and reading, but speaking. And that in fact, once school systems were established, widely established in the modern age, that is after the printing press was developed, school systems were established and made reading and writing the benchmark of adulthood, that resulted in an extended notion of childhood. So childhood was kind of extended into the teen years, and with it the idea that this was a special state where children should be protected, sequestered, put off into schools and taken special care of. So there was children's literature, there was a kind of children's culture, there was special allowances made for children. And his argument was that this was being undermined, and in fact childhood was disappearing because television was bypassing the safety and the special nature of the schools, exposing children to information that they previously were shielded from, so that children now know the same things by and large that adults do. They have access to the same information, and in this sense they're no longer seen as all that different from adults. Some of the consequences are that special children's clothing, the idea that like little boys should be in short pants, which we still have that image in our head, the special little kids' outfits, but they're gone. And in the same way, children are put on trial, at least here in the U.S. If children are now tried as adults in some cases, that notion of a special status for the child has eroded drastically. Children are presented as sex objects, the sub-teen modeling, where they're presented as adults. And the other end of it, I mean, he did say he could just as well have titled the book The Disappearance of Adulthood, because we have mature adults, even senior citizens, dressing in jeans and sneakers, acting like kids. And of course, and we celebrate the fact, that there's no clear dividing line between the generations.
Quer dizer que então existe uma linha quase invisível entre a infância e a fase adulta por causa da mídia?
Yes, in other words, we're talking about a cultural construction. The culture itself exists within a media environment, and as the media environment has changed, the culture in turn has changed. So the more that children are exposed to information and given the same access as adults, the more that their special status as children just vanishes. I think that when I was born, there still was the idea of special children's culture, children's television, all of that. And I think, the 60s was of course, the major transformational moment. And that was the point where television really had its sweeping impact. But I think it continues to go on now through the internet as well.